Way back in January... Who the hell's behind me? Oh, I just made eye contact. Way back in January, things were pretty neat. Tintin had just entered the public domain, America was still chill, and OnePlus said, hey, 2025 is going to be a long year, so let's get this whole year's best flagship for the money thing out of the way. And they released the OnePlus 13. Here we are, 6 months later. It's kind of a different world. There are other phones that have come out since then, so the big question is the OnePlus 13 still worth your time and money in the summer of 2025 and beyond? I have used the OnePlus 13 as my daily phone religiously. I'm active on the forums, I beta test updates, and I feverishly try out every accessory I can get my hands on for this phone. I am not the kind of guy to toot my own horn, but if you're looking for a true user's feedback on how this phone is faring 6 months after release, you're in the right place, because I'm the right schmuck to ask. This video isn't sponsored in any way, whether or not I wish it was. That said, OnePlus did send me a OnePlus 13 late last year to review before its launch, so really this is a 7-month review. But because I wanted a clear conscience and a prettier color, I bought a second OnePlus 13 so that you know that my money is on the line too when I'm talking about this phone. I'm gonna say a lot of positive things about this phone. However, don't mistake it for perfect. It has shortcomings and everybody has different priorities. I'm just here to be your Sherpa on this journey. One day everything will break or fail, and if you're like me, you want to buy a phone that's going to last you at least a few years, if not more. So let's dig into this. Let's talk about build and design first. I love this design. I still do. I liked it when it was announced for the OnePlus 13. I liked it when it was announced for the OnePlus 12 and the 11 before it. Yes, it is a bit of a tired design. So even though I do really like it, I do kind of hope they shake it up. I hope there is a design refresh for next year's OnePlus flagship. I think we're a little overdue. I do really hope that they keep up with the fun, funky, interesting material finishes though. I think it's a great way to visually set the phone apart, especially in the United States where nobody has this phone here. I started out with the Arctic Dawn variant of the OnePlus 13 and that was beautiful, but I picked up the Midnight Ocean variant because I was so enamored by this material finish. I only use this phone out of its case maybe like 20% of the time, but the pleather finish has held up just perfectly. It's so comfortable to hold. It's soft and it has like this tiny amount of squish like you would expect from a firm leather. It's definitely a little grippier than the smooth black and white variants of this phone. The rest of the phone is in great shape too. The side rails are still flawless, the camera housing hasn't turned a single scratch, and the alert slider is still firm and clicky. Listen, phone ASMR. The haptics are really nice too.
IP68 is great because if you get your phone dirty.
The factory stock screen protector did a really good job for a couple months until my pocket and my backpack, the scuffs and the scratches from that started to catch up with it. The feedback for this phone has been that the ceramic guard finish that they put on the screen does as good a job as any other fancy Gorilla Glass finish, but I don't think my anxiety would let me take off my screen protector. It's just not who I am. Tempered glass is always the way to go for a screen protector, but since this phone has the barely curved screen edges, that turns it into a much trickier and expensive product to purchase and install. On top of that, the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, which is still blazingly fast, it's really, really good, doesn't work as well when you install a tempered glass screen protector over it. So most of the tempered glass options out there take weird glue, and they have like this big fingerprint sensor glory hole right in the middle of the screen, and that just doesn't appeal to me. So I'm sticking with the film screen protectors. It's too bad. I hope the screen is flat next year. But let's talk about the screen. It is the best AMOLED display I have ever used. 510 pixels per inch is just obscenely sharp. It's big, it's brilliantly bright, it's incredibly accurate, and it's extremely responsive and smooth. 120 Hz isn't just great for gaming, it makes the entire user experience with this phone smoother and easier on the eyes. Speaking of which, I've had several friends tell me that this phone doesn't flicker as much as other phones do. And that's the first time I've ever had to acknowledge that PWM frequency feature isn't just some marketing gimmick. It really does affect some people, and I have friends that enjoy using my phone for that reason. The edges of the screen, like I mentioned, they're barely curved, and though it does make the phone really comfortable to hold and interact with, I do wish that it was just a flat screen. They're so much easier to repair and protect. And it's cheaper. Also, now feels like the right time for my traditional complaint that phones are too damn big. This phone is a magnum-sized 6.8 inches, and honestly, if they were to release basically this phone with a 5.5-inch screen, I would buy that phone in a heartbeat, I would film the review, and I would shut down the channel because there's never going to be a phone that tops that. It would be perfect. It would be perfect. OnePlus does have a smaller high-end phone coming out this summer. It's the 13S, and it honestly looks really good. But it's still a girthy 6.2 inches. But it's still a really good step in the right direction, and early sales are indicating that it's a successful product. So, next year? We'll see. I'm losing light, so I'm going to pick this up in the morning. If you never notice your phone slowing down, that means it's perfectly fast enough for you, and that's awesome. It also means that if you don't do a whole lot of intensive tasks like graphically intensive games or taking a ton of video or video editing, you can probably get away with something that's not as expensive as this. But for me, I want my phone to do it all. When the OnePlus 13 launched with the Snapdragon 8 Elite, it put a lot of jaws on the floor with its performance. It was one of the first ones to launch with this new chip. Since then, a lot of phones have launched with this chipset, and several of them have edged past the OnePlus 13's performance simply because they don't throttle as aggressively. There are trade-offs to every engineering decision, and there are a couple of main reasons for throttling a phone. One is for thermals. If the phone is working too hard, it gets too hot, and that starts to cook components. Another is to prolong battery life. With the benefit of hindsight, we know it's more so the latter. So yeah, the OnePlus 13 is technically outpaced by a handful of other, primarily gaming-focused flagship smartphones. Now, I don't want to hear anyone go, "Oh, Wildman Tech said that the OnePlus 13 was underpowered." That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that the OnePlus 13 sips power. That power draw rarely exceeds 5 watts on the OnePlus 13, even when you're running the most demanding games. And leaving that performance overhead is what enables this phone to have some of the best battery life on the market today. Call of Duty Mobile, Warzone, Wuthering Waves, Emulation, and Dolphin, it's all held up really well. However, if you are an extremely dedicated mobile gamer and it's very important to you to be able to max out games like Grid Legends or Genshin, or you want to be able to do some of the most cutting-edge PC and console emulation possible on a phone, there are a few options out there that will technically push more power for less heat. However, I really doubt that you're going to find better battery performance for the power that you get with the OnePlus 13. Really, the only other thing you can do to make a phone throttle is take a bunch of 4K 60 FPS video at max brightness. And trust me, I have taken a ton of 4K 60 FPS video at max brightness on this phone. And the phone never slows down. It never stops. Even in like really direct sun and hot weather, I've never had the phone say, "Hey, the phone's too hot. We're throttling now."
It is disgustingly bright.
I mean, it'll happen someday, but it hasn't happened yet, and that used to be something that I would see very often on all my previous phones, including the OnePlus 12. Oh, and also, yeah, this phone is capable of 8K video. Who's taking 8K video? If you're one of like the 4 people taking 8K video on your phone, let me know in the comments, and let me know why. What are you doing with it? How are you editing it? Where are you storing it? But hey, segue, let's talk about these cameras. The pictures that come out of this phone are crazy. I won't call anything perfect, and I'll point out some examples of poor outputs in my opinion, but 98% of this time, this camera is on it. It's insane. Photography is subjective, so what you like might be different from what I like. All I personally want from a phone is good detail, a priority on shutter speed so that my subjects aren't blurry, and balanced and realistic lighting. The OnePlus 13 runs laps around my wife's iPhone 16 Pro, and that remains true even at nighttime and in low light. The iPhone has always been a very popular benchmark for mobile photography because Apple has very consistent quality over the years. It has slowly gotten better with time. But now, at least when it comes to photography, there are a few brands out there that are pretty easily kicking Apple's ass. The Android versus iPhone wars aren't as spicy as they used to be, and that's a good thing. But there's still a 15-year-old boy in my head that's going, "Yeah, suck it, iPhone. Android rules." Powerful phones like this are capable of some really crazy dynamic range processing these days. That means that the camera takes a bunch of pictures all at once, then combines them in a single photo that makes the brightest parts visible and detailed at the same time as the darkest parts of the picture. Most of the time, this works to create a really incredible image that you wouldn't even get straight out of a professional grade camera. Trust me, I've tried. There are examples of this missing the mark though. Sometimes the HDR effect is just immediately noticeable. And the kicker with HDR is that as soon as you notice it without looking for it, It's too strong. The cliff face here is washed out and low contrast. Context tells you that the light is coming from the sky beyond the cliffs, so the cliffs shouldn't be that bright. Your brain might subconsciously tell you that this is unrealistic, and what I would call over HDR'd. Another example of a camera miss is the super rare compression bug. It's honestly like catching a shiny Pokemon in terms of drop rates, but it's shitty instead of shiny. It's a shitty Pokemon. These two pictures, taken moments apart, are vastly different quality. Why did this happen? I don't know. I'm lucky I snagged 2 shots though, right? So clearly I am a simp for the pictures that can be taken on the OnePlus 13, but I will concede where it does fall behind the competition is video. Now, I hear you, you're saying, oh Jacob, is the video really that bad? Are you saying the OnePlus 13 has bad video? No, that's absolutely not what I'm saying. Look at me now. This is probably a pretty solid video. And honestly, sometimes I'm still in awe of the video that can come out of a smartphone camera. The 3x lens in particular has massively improved this year. However, Pixels and especially iPhones continue to deliver better video results than the OnePlus 13. Even if this doesn't reach the highest bar possible, I am still very happy with the video results from this phone. Check out how the details and colors remained consistent even after swapping to 6x when my dad started to fall down this mountain.
Oh, shit! 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 Oh!
In a very challenging environment to capture, this phone switches between all 3 lenses easily, maintaining consistent lighting and colors the whole time.
Too fast. Too fast. Oh, too fast. Oh, no!
Sometimes there's a single frame blip though when changing from one lens to another mid-video, and it's not perfect. Check out the white balance when I switch lenses here. Even in low light and dark, I get great videos that are true to life in terms of lighting and especially so for white balance and colors. This is even an improvement over the OnePlus 12. Let me put these side by side. These two phones have very similar camera hardware, but the beefier internals on the OnePlus 13 are putting in a ton of work to make these videos bright, detailed, and still far more accurate in terms of color science. The movie mode is definitely a treat. It gives you plenty of user control over common settings, it locks the frame rate at a cinematic 24 FPS, and it throws in this theatrical aspect ratio on top of that. I do wish the standard video mode gave you the same amount of control over camera settings like ISO, shutter speed, and frame rate, but oh well. It's worth calling out that the microphone performance is a very similar story to video. It's definitely good and it's absolutely an improvement over the mediocre microphone on the OnePlus 12, but it still just doesn't really hold up next to an iPhone 16 Pro or Pixel 9. Also, the selfie camera is... it's average. It's average. Selfie cameras suck unless you have a physical disability that prevents you from turning the phone around and pointing it at your face. Yeah, selfie cameras just suck. This is no exception. Stabilization is strong with maybe a single caveat. I'm able to film myself while mountain biking without issue, and the ultra steady feature improves the stabilization even further at the expense of a bit of digital crop. However, my biggest video complaint on this phone is a rare stabilization error. While the problem has gotten better over time, I'd say I still have stabilization errors with roughly 1 in 40 videos. A 2% failure rate isn't bad, but sometimes you don't have the opportunity to retake a video. I'm not able to identify any reproduction steps, so when it does happen, it's always surprising and it always sucks. Let's move on to the battery now. On any given day, I use balanced power mode, max resolution, max refresh rate, and I'm not bashful about how often I crank the screen brightness or use the GPS or run background monitoring tasks. Despite all that, I'm still getting ridiculous screen on time. That Snapdragon 8 Elite is surprisingly good at sipping power when there isn't any good reason to be flooring the gas pedal. Silicon carbon battery tech is also playing a sneaky role in getting an extra 20% battery capacity in the same form factor as the OnePlus 12, so this year we have a 6,000 milliamp hour dual cell battery. Silicon carbon is still sort of uncharted territory in smartphones. It's been around for about a year, and the chemistry of the battery is more prone to expanding during charging cycles, which potentially degrades its lifespan and introduces failure points. But the other side of that token is that a bigger battery means you're charging it less often, which means less wear, so I think it all comes out to a wash and you just get a bigger battery. All that said, after 6 months of super heavy use, my battery health is still at 100%, so I think all of my concerns are unfounded and I should just enjoy having an awesome battery. Let's move on to software. The phone has Oxygen OS 15, which is of course built on Android 15, and it's guaranteed another 4 years of OS updates, taking it all the way to Android 19, and another year of security updates on top of that. And I love that. I think when you have a phone that has performance and build and cameras that are all this good, there's going to be a lot of people holding onto this phone for 5 years. I can't believe that so many people complain about Oxygen OS. In my experience, it's one of the best wrappers for Android, and in a lot of ways, it's often better than stock Android. It's lightweight, logical, it's clean looking. I'm able to do exactly what I need to do in fewer taps and swipes than ever before. The fact that it looks good is just the cherry on top. I really like Nova Launcher, and I probably would have switched by now were it not for the fact that third-party launchers on Oxygen OS have this 1 second delay whenever you swipe up to go home. There's some technical reason that Google doesn't make some API available to developers, but it is still a disappointment. Fortunately for me, I still really like Oxygen OS. One of my favorite features is global search. The AI side of it is still half-baked and not worth much, but it's otherwise still a lightning fast search of your entire phone's storage. I download a lot of random documents, pictures, all kinds of crap, and being able to search for just a couple letters of a file name and it pulls it up, that's just awesome. You can even search your settings, events, contacts, all that cool stuff. And of course, all of that is only done if you give it the permission to access all of that. In my original review, I showcased a long-lasting bug with the Clear All button in the app switcher that would also dismiss most of your notifications. I'm very happy to say that that's been fixed. I was losing my mind with that one for a little while. There are monthly updates to the phone, some of which are just for security and bugs, and others that have UX and back-end improvements. There haven't been any meaningful features specifically added, but that's typically reserved for full annual feature releases. Customization is still fairly weak. The fancy lock screen and wallpaper options still aren't worth very much. AI features are hit or miss. Some of them work decently, including reflection remover in the gallery app, and a lot of the stock Gemini features work well. The AI features that OnePlus specifically built for this phone are inconsistent, both in performance and availability. Sometimes they work well. Reflections vanish, documents are scanned for content, and unwanted photo bombers are erased, all for the low, low price of free. Other times, they fail spectacularly, or they're completely unavailable after any given update. The super good news is that, as far as I can tell, there are consent options for every AI feature on this phone, and none of them appear to be on by default. Stodgy old doomer that I am, I'm pretty happy to keep my OnePlus 13 an AI-free oasis. So, it seems like I like this phone a lot, right? What would I change? In a perfect world, this phone is much easier to replace parts on myself. OnePlus isn't known for having excellent post-launch service, and this is a phone that I could easily see lasting for 5 years or more for a lot of people. So the constant threat of having to replace a battery or a screen would be assuaged by having a greater variety of user-friendly repair options. Shout out to Fairphone. Of course, the video stabilization thing is a point of frustration for me. And lastly, of course, again, I wish it was smaller. So on that note, what are we looking forward to for the OnePlus 15 next year? Yeah, I said 15. Remember that the word for in Chinese, si, sounds a lot like the word death in Chinese, si. So you'll often see phone brands, especially Asian ones, foregoing model numbers that feature 4. If anyone speaks Chinese, tell me if that was just the worst pronunciation you've ever heard. First, I'm hoping for a design refresh. If anything, because I am a restless person and this general layout has stayed the same for a few years now. Second, I totally anticipate the battery technology to improve only further. We might get up to 6,500 milliamp hours, we might even crack 7,000. Lastly, if the early Oppo flagship rumors are anything to go off of, I'm willing to bet that the primary camera sensor on the next OnePlus flagship will see a 200 megapixel upgrade. Is that useful to anyone? Probably not. Maybe it's a step closer to those really deep zoom pictures on smartphones being artistically meaningful rather than just utilities. So once again, the ultimate question is the OnePlus 13 at its current price of $1,000 for this variant, is this still worth your money and the time that you're spending researching this in the summer of 2025? The OnePlus 13 is not a cheap phone, but compared to the other high-end flagships that it's competing against, it's actually a pretty affordable option. You've got user-friendly software with 6 years of updates, a sweet little spread of high-powered specs, and a ripping camera. And I think that all comes together to make this an excellent purchase still. I mean, what else is there for a phone to be? What will engineers dream up next? What silly AI stuff will the marketing department try to pretend it justifies a new yearly release? Ready or not, I think we'll all find out together. Thanks so much for watching. If you have literally any questions about this phone, I have answers. I just really like helping people find good solutions for them. If this was helpful, subscribe. I do this because I love doing it, but there is also something in the old lizard brain that gets the dopamine hit from seeing that line go up. Thanks again, and please take care of yourself, because sometimes you're the only one that can. See you next time. Ka-chow.